Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. Webster, Tarpley in Washington, D.C. 11 hours to the government shutdown as we tape the program. The Republicans, the anti-government, anti-states party of subversion, of right-wing anarchists, of neo-feudalists, chaos, ungovernability, and indeed, when we get to that debt ceiling, it becomes treason, sabotage of one's own country in the name of private greed and a private network and a fanatical ideology, which is radically anti-historical and completely hoked up and fake. Obama's policy, preventive capitulation, preventive surrender on the installment plan. The irony is that we're now told that the money demands of the reactionaries have largely been met. Yes, the Democrats, to some degree, are following the same strategy they had in Wisconsin, which was to immediately capitulate on the money demands, as they did in Wisconsin. They said, sure, cut our wages, cut our pensions, we don't care, but give us some social policy, give us the existence of unions. Now, in the case of Wisconsin, that had a lot of merit. In the case of the Washington situation right now, Obama is capitulating on all of the economic demands to a greater degree than anybody would have thought possible. But the Republicans, since the Tea Party caucus wants the government shutdown as a means of burnishing their credentials with their own fanatical voters, that 15 to 20% of lunatic fringe crackpots who support the Tea Party. Therefore, these Tea Party people keep adding social issues, and indeed they have issues about abortion. And I will give the Republicans get credit on one point in this entire toxic brew. There is one valid element floating in the midst of this bowl of poison, which is they want to stop the Environmental Protection Administration from illegally really imposing regulations on CO2 as if it were a pollutant, because it's not a pollutant, and therefore this is an overreach by the Environmental Protection Agency. But I'm afraid that one little thing is not worth drinking the entire bowl of poison that the Republicans are offering up. So every time Obama gives in on the economic issues, the Republicans add these social issue riders, because ultimately the goal of the Tea Party is to shut down the government. This is their ideological point. They want to shut down the government. They want to have that as a shock for their own fanatical base. Remember, the United States is a country with a New Deal majority. 75 to 80% support the main New Deal programs, Social Security and Medicare. 81% want a special surtax on millionaires. Therefore, the argument from these Tea Party fanatics that they won the congressional election and therefore they demand all power, sounds like 1933, doesn't hold up. The polling shows that their ideologized base is about 15 to 20% of the U.S. population at most. They are a marginal group. But Obama, look what Obama is doing. Obama is triangulating. If you notice in these meetings, Obama is meeting with the Speaker of the House, Boehner, and the Democratic Senate leader, Reid, but there's no role for the Democrats in the House of Representatives, the Pelosi, Steny Hoyer people. They are completely cut out of it. And Obama, of course, floats above the fray, the seraphic messiah who talks about Washington. He doesn't act as if he's a Democratic president responsible to a Democratic electorate. He, of course, has now declared his candidacy for re-election in 2012. And as soon as I mention that fact, let me put out the slogan of this broadcast: dump Obama. Dump Obama in 2012. Dump him actually in 2011. Somebody's got to start running against this guy, the Wall Street puppet, the warmonger. Now we've got 4 wars. We've got union busting. We've got a complete capitulation to Wall Street, and so on down the line. Dump Obama. But Obama's idea is that he wants to make overtures to the fussy independents, as they're called. Well, again, the polling shows that it's a New Deal majority. Provided with a little bit of leadership, you could get that New Deal majority to emerge. The problem is that there have been no Democratic politicians willing to make a straight up-and-down New Deal case, which would be an overwhelming national consensus, as that NBC Wall Street Journal poll of about a month ago actually shows. Now, the government shutdown is the first act of this tragedy. Let's just go through what kinds of damage would be done. There are differing opinions about whether Social Security checks would go out, but there's a question mark. Would Social Security checks go out to the tens of millions of people for whom that is the only means of subsistence? Veterans Administration checks, also another big question mark. Concerning military pay, there is no question. It will not be paid. We have a lot of families of soldiers in the U.S. military who are living on food stamps, earned income tax credit, and, of course, their military pay. They will be thrown into destitution by what the Republicans are doing. The Republicans tried to offer a fig leaf on that by sort of a stopgap measure, the ultimate hypocrisy, a one-week continuing resolution funding the Pentagon for 1 year, therefore the military pay, but the rest of the government only for 1 week, along with $12 billion of budget cuts, plus the various social issue ideological points. And again, the only one of those that has real merit is this thing about putting a bridle on the Environmental Protection Agency. But the package as a whole is unacceptable because you can stop the EPA through other means. You don't have to do it in this particular way. Other than that, government contractors, this is a huge story. If the government shuts down, there are many government contractors that will have to lay off their workers immediately. And if it goes on beyond a week or two, a lot of government contractors will go bankrupt because a lot of these companies are on the brink. And this includes some production lines that we don't want to lose. In terms of creating jobs, the Republican solution will destroy 800,000 federal jobs as long as the government is shut down. Those people will be laid off. They will have no income, and they probably won't get it back because of the vindictive hatred of the Republican Tea Party fanatics, right, who love bankers but hate U.S. government workers. So we would also lose out on mine safety. No more inspections in coal mines. More deaths to be expected there. The oversight activity of the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, weak as it is, would cease to exist at that point. So this is bad enough in itself. Now, I'm against the government shutdown, but if it happens, there is a possible benefit. The only hope right now to save what remains of the social safety net is a bitter partisan clash, an acrimonious confrontation with hatred, invective, in other words, the opposite of bipartisanship, the opposite of what Obama wants to have floating above the fray. Washington has to divide into two opposed camps. They have to fight each other to a standstill. Otherwise, you will get a dirty, rotten deal with Obama reaching out, as he would say, to Boehner and the fanatics and Mitch McConnell, the legions of greed, to destroy Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, according to the Erskine, Bowles, and Simpson Commission. So, in a certain sense, the silver lining of a shutdown is the partisan divide that will make a sellout at the backs of the American people more difficult. Back in a minute.